Assalamu alaikum. Hello students from 821. This is your physics teacher, Mr. Matt here. He's going to go through with you all of the things you need to know for week 5 in the workbook. We've already done week 4 in another video, so we've got week 4 done. It's all about measurements, this workbook. Just check you have workbook 2 with you. We can do this live, so you can watch the video, complete it on your laptop. If not, you can watch it, just pause it as you go. So we've done already week 4. This is solved in a previous video. It's all on the student share. The links are in a file. The link to the YouTube video is in a file on the shared folder. So if you haven't done that already, go and find week 4 and watch that video first. Okay, takes you through everything from week 4. All of this should be done. So if you didn't catch that in the previous video, there's another video for week 4. This video is focusing on week 5. Let's get straight into it. I'm trying to adjust my camera. So the first thing is define density. Okay, this is a nice little research task for you to go on. If it says define something, you're just saying what it is. So what is density? Alright, well, we can just Google it, right? You don't need always to have me tell you the answer. What is density? What is density? Look at this. Density is how much matter is packed into a given area. We covered it a little bit in week 4. How much stuff there is in a given space. Yep. If these two have the same mass, there's a lot more. The mass must be much closer together in this one. So this one has the higher density. They're both 100 grams. Here the same idea, look. This one has the higher density. Both are the same shape, the same size. But this one has more particles in the same space, so the density is higher. Just a reminder there for our starter task today. For what is density? Go back to the worksheet, so you can just fill it in your own words, right? So I can't do it for you. I can just write density is here. You finish. And you can't just copy this either, because this is the workbook definition. So find your own version, think of your own way to say it. Think about the particles in a given space. So the exact definition, the ratio of the mass of a substance to the volume of that substance at a given temperature. Tells you the units here as well. We'll get into that when we solve some problems. But there's more than one way to say the units for density. Just like with money, you can have fils or dirhams, or they're both money. Well, there is grams per centimeter cubed here, grams per milliliter, grams per liter. It depends if it's a solid, liquid, or a gas. You know, on the side of a bottle, it says ml. This is a way of saying volume for a liquid, so that's why, and gases too. So we have ml here and L. We can say how much gas we have with liters, or how much liquid we have with milliliters, ml. We use centimeters cubed for the volume, how much solid I have. You can see the grams, G is always the same if it's solid, liquid, or gas. Okay. There's a lot of definitions here, but this is the focus for today, this triangle formula. Now, we've used triangle formula before, probably, but if we haven't, because you are new to physics, I'll go through this in detail today with some examples. Just want you to add to your triangle verb here. Let's add a multiply symbol and divide symbol here and here. Are mathematical symbols. Physics has a lot of maths in. So these are taksim and verb. And this triangle will help us solve lots of maths problems in physics as we go throughout the physics course for level 2. But there's an equation that says if we want to calculate density, we can take the mass and we can taksim the volume. So the mass divide the volume. Sometimes divide is shown by just a line like this. So you can think of that horizontal line there in the middle as a divide. I just put the divide symbols as well. I'll explain this in a little bit. Here's the general equation. Mass divided by volume. How much volume is there per given space in 1 centimeter cubed of space? For example, for a solid. Okay, it's giving an example of how to use the pyramid, but I'll do that with you in the first question. Alright, so let's solve some of these together. We need to use this formula. Now always with this kind of formula they will tell you 2 of the things and you will have to calculate the other one. So imagine they tell you the mass and the volume. Well, you will just say, okay, mass divide the volume number gives me the density number for whatever it is. Let's see if we can do it. A gold ring has mass 18.9 grams. Now immediately I'm just gonna go underline this number and call it M, because I know the M in a volume of 1.12 milliliters. So I know the V for volume is 1.12. This is for gold. Alright, well, it's saying, is the ring pure gold? If it is, then the answer should be 19.3. So we're trying to find the density, right? If the density is different, then it's made of a different material. The density of a substance is a constant. So there are different densities for different things. Bronze is different for copper, is different for gold, is different for silver. So if we don't get this number, which is the number for gold everywhere in the universe, should be this number, then it's a fake. It's not a real gold ring. Let's try. I'm just going to show you now how to use the triangle method. Now we have the mass and the volume. We have M and V. How do I know? Because it says volume is da-da-da. Mass is da-da-da. So I know I have M and V. And I know I'm finding density here because it's the only one left in the equation. Now to do the triangle equation here, what we do, I'm just going to focus on this for a second. Focus on this triangle. Alright. If I cover up the one I need, now which one did I need? Mass, volume, or density? I need, the one I need to find is the density D. So I'm going to cover that D. Now what is left? Mass, taksim, volume. So I just do this on the calculator and I will find the one I need, density. So the calculation, what we do is we look for what we need to find, number 1. And number 2, we cover it up on the triangle. And number 3, we do the calculation of what is left. So I know it's M divide V to find D. So I'll just write that in because I used my triangle. Density is equal to, alright, let's go back out now so you can see the whole page. There we go. mass divided by volume. I'll put the full symbol there, so you know. If I put a dash, it means taxine, okay, in the future. So I'm not always going to put divide, there's no divide symbol easily writable. So that's my equation. Now I have M and I have V. So instead of writing in letters, I can say D now equals 18.9, right? G grams divide by we don't usually put the letter in. We will for this first one. This is the unit, right? G is for grams. You have to know grams for mass. 1.12 and milliliters is for the liquid. Gold can be in liquid form. I know it's a ring, but never mind. So put that in your calculator. Let's do it together. 18.9, taxine 1.12. You get 16.875. Uh, 875, we can round it to 0.9, right? 87 is close to 0.9 grams per milliliter. So is it pure gold? What does it say? The pure gold would be 19.3. So it's lighter than gold. You can see the density is less than gold. It's not going to be pure gold. It needs to be 19.3. I'll give you an example for density. Look, density of different materials. Here we have actually a list of some different densities. Iron is very dense, 7,000. Copper is even more dense, 8,900. Iron, 7,000. Glass is less, 2,500. I could just click on this. Here's your whole list of, maybe not. This one here is probably good. My amazing stain on my screen. So wood is 178. We have plastic only 13. Metal 900. It depends on the material, right? As to how dense it is. Glass 2,500. It's just to show you what I mean when I say it's a material property. You can imagine gas is very low density because the particles are so spaced out, right? Okay, let's go back. I've solved the first problem for you there, giving you an example. Now, why did I write grams dash milliliters? Because we have grams divide milliliters. Remember when I say this dash symbol, it means divide. Okay, so that's just giving you the units. What am I talking about with density? I just have to make sure I use the units from the question. Alright then. Now it says what volume. So now I'm trying to find V. So V is my question mark. What do I have? What does it tell me in the question? It gives me 0.871 grams. So I know the mass, right? Mass is in grams. So M is equal to 0.871. You can see this time in my working, I'm just going to write it out instead of just highlighting it in the question. But if you prefer, you can just go like this. Here's my M, this number. And to zoom out. There we go. Here's my mass. Just write M for that one. And density of air is 1.29. See how low that is? This one was nearly 817. This one's only 1. That's my density D. I've got my number for the letter D and my number for the letter M. And I need to find V. What is the volume? What volume? It's a question, right? D equals, what did we say? 1.29, right? This is G dash L. Remember always to put the units as well for this, because they're always different. Now I need to use my equation. It's not so easy because it's different to the last one, but which one do I need to cover? V, M, or D? Remember, cover the one we need. I'm going to write that down. Write the method. Cover the one we need. So that's the V. I'm going to cover up the V in the triangle to find the equation. Let's go to the equation then, and this in the triangle. Here we go. I'm going to cover up V, put my finger over V. So what's my formula I need to do now? M taksim D. Mass divided by the density should give me the volume. Mass divide density. Mass divide density. Let's remember that and go back to the problem. I'm just going to write here. M for mass divide by the density. Taksim D for density equals the volume. Alright, what's the mass then? I don't write M, I'm just going to write the numbers because I can't put these letters into the calculator, it won't give me anything useful. M is 0.71. Right, still need to put in divide. What's the density? 1.29. D is 1.29. How did we know that? Because it says the density is 1.29. You have to read the question. You can't just know these letters. And we will find V. Here's the mass. Here's the density. See how it matches up? Divide is still there. The equals is still there. Because we can put divide and equals in the calculator, but we cannot put M and D. We must put the numbers for each letter. And the volume will be 0.871 divided by 1.29, 0.675. 0.675. Well, what's the units now? For V. Now we've got grams and grams per liter. So the units are always, the units for mass would always be grams, but we don't have mass, we have volume. This is the one which changes. If it's a liquid or a gas, we say liters. So I need to put L for liters. I could write the whole thing, liters, but L is just for short. L is fine because look, here's the L. If it says L or ML, for volume you will be using M or ML. And this is true if it's a gas, which air is a gas, right? We can't see it very well, but it's there in front of us all the time, and it even has a mass. Really low mass, look, not even 1 gram. Even this small dice would be, I don't know, 50 grams. So there you go. That's the volume you need for this problem. And you can see how we're using the same triangle method every time. Got quite a few of these to do. I'm not going to do all of them with you. I think you'll be able to practice some yourself, but so far we found the density using this one, this formula. We found the volume using this formula. Let's have a look at one where we find the mass. Let's go to question 4 now. It says, what is the mass? So we need to find the mass this time. So write what we need to find. Mass equals question mark. Alright then, but we need to find the other two things as well, otherwise we'll never do the calculation. This is a cup of sugar. So we have 237 milliliters of it. It's the volume of 2, so that's V, right? V for volume, you know this one. The density of the sugar is 1.59 grams per milliliter. So I know the density, the D. I know the D, I know the V. Just put it in to an equation. I'm not going to write it again because I just highlighted it in the question this time. Giving you different ways to solve the problem. Some people prefer to just write what it is and then go straight to the equation. Okay, let's see what we need to find mass this time. So I cover the mass. And what is my equation? V var D. So volume times multiplied by the density. Volume multiplied density. So remember that, volume multiplied density. Okay, write it down. Volume multiplied density, and that will give me the mass, the one I covered. Always find the one you cover when you do that. So now just put the numbers in. The V, 237, multiplied by the D, 1.59. And you will find the mass. Now mass is always grams, especially when it says G here. So whenever you find your number, remember to put the units, or you'll lose marks. Oh, you can calculate that number and put it in there. And make sure you add G for grams after you've finished. Question 5 is the same as question 1. So it's not the same, but it's like question 1, so same method. So you can practice and try that one yourself. This is what is the density here. Okay, what is the density? Go up here, cover the D, what do we have? Mass divide volume. And in this one, it's asking you what is the mass. So you cover the mass. This one is like question 4. Okay. The only difference I can see, same method, is the unit. So question 4 we have milliliters, grams per milliliter, grams per milliliter, and milliliters. Question 4 is just like question 6, no difference in the units. So you're looking for grams again. So with your answer you will put G for mass. But question 5, you see you have kilograms and meters cubed. So this time we have a solid ball. Now in question 1 we were looking at the liquid gold because we had milliliters there. Remember, milliliters is for gas and liquid. If we have a solid, we use meters cubed or centimeters cubed, like we do in question 5. So when we find the density, the unit, whenever we get to our answer, will be in kilograms per, so dash meter cubed. It's the unit for density of a solid. Might be grams per centimeter cubed, but here we can say we have kg, look, and meter cubed. So you do this, mass divided by volume. Mass divide volume. Yeah, makes sense. Find those numbers, divide them, find the answer. Good luck with those. I've not gone through question 3. That's the only one I haven't gone through. Now, part A is the same like question 1. We're finding density again, so we just divide the mass, divide by the volume. And we'll just highlight which the mass and the volume is here because it doesn't say that it's mass. You have to know that the grams relates to the mass. So here, I'll just tell you the step there that that's going to be the mass. 225 is the mass, and 236.6 is the V. So go up then to your triangle. You need to find the density. So cover the D in the triangle. So what we're gonna do for this, let me check. Yeah, mass, this into the calculator. Done. These are divide signs. Taksim signs. Okay, so have a go at that as well. Will the pumice float on water? Alright, well, there's an important thing we need to know about water. If it floats, then it will not sink, which means it stays on the water. It doesn't go down like a boat or a piece of wood or plastic. It will stay on the top of the water. It will not go down to the bottom of the sea. Now pumice, this is a special rock, a rock made by volcanoes. It's asking if it will float, if it will stay on the top. Now if this number is bigger than 1, then it will sink, it will go down. If this number is smaller than 1, it will float. Okay? So whatever you find, if it's bigger than 1, so if it's like 15 or 16 or 2 or 3 or 4, anything bigger than 1, then it will not float. So you will say no, not float. There's too much density in this material. But if it's less, if it's 0.5, 0.6, 0.7, 0.1, anything less than the number 1, it will float. So you can say yes. Alright, so try this as well. This is a bit harder, part B. You just need to write yes or no after you find the density and you compare it to this 1. The density of water is 1 gram per milliliter. Okay, remember you can pause the video at any point if you're doing this live. I don't pause myself. I just let you guys decide when you want to pause, rewind. Maybe you needed to listen to that bit again. That's what the video is all about, okay? So let's finish with some reflection. What did I learn today? What did you learn today? Well, we learned about density. But not just about density. We learned to calculate density. So we learned to calculate. We didn't just find density. Sometimes we found the mass, density, mass, or volume. So those are the 3 things, D, M, and V, using a special method called the triangle method. You learned that M stands for mass, V stands for volume, and D stands for density. Just finish by drawing that triangle to put it in our heads. Here's my triangle. Now we had V here, mass at the top, and density on the right. We had the verb here, and we had a taksim here and here. So remember, if we want to find density, mass divide volume. If we want to find volume, cover volume, mass divide density. If we want to find mass, volume times density. So that's what you do in the calculation. And of course, the question should normally, it usually gives you those 2. So you can always just put those 2 numbers into the calculator for mass and density or whatever it is. The units are important too, so we should probably just summarize that as well. Mass, we're going to have either kilograms or grams. Kilograms or grams. The volume is either centimeters cubed or milliliters. Sometimes we can have liters as well. Milliliters. And density is the both together, so maybe it's kilogram or gram per centimeter cubed. Or we could have milliliters or gram per milliliter. Those are the two main ones. Just highlight that these are our units. We put these numbers after, we put these letters after the number or answer. When we get an answer in physics, we should always add the unit. So for mass, if we're finding mass, put one of these after. It should be clear in the question which one to put, because it'll tell you which unit we are using. Volume, centimeters cubed or milliliters. If we are using a solid, we have centimeters cubed. This is a solid, right? It's solid. If we are using a liquid, I can't see that very well, ml, or a gas, like water, for example. And if we are finding density, and after our number on our answer, we write grams per centimeter cubed for a solid or grams per milliliter for a liquid. I think that sums up the learning quite well. It's something you enjoyed about this lesson, and let's move on. We're about halfway, so we've got 2 more lessons to look at before we can do the assessment for workbook 2. There's only 2 workbooks for physics each quarter, okay? There's no workbook 3. So that's a good thing for you. You can focus on these 2 workbooks. Just reminding you, some of you have not done workbook 1. That should have been done by now, so you need to go and do that assessment and upload to Google Classroom if you haven't done it already. Alright then, lesson 19 and 20. Let's see what we're going to learn about. Describe the density and find its value using the formula. That sounds similar to what we've already done, so it looks like we're going to just do more practice about this understanding of density, how much mass there is in a certain space, certain volume. The volume is how much space things take up. So what's the formula used to calculate density? I could just copy that into Google and find it, right? We've got the triangle. You could write the triangle there, but it's not really a formula. So we could just scroll back up and remind ourselves what is that formula, because it says it in the notes. Here it is, formula, something with an equal sign. Density is the mass divided by the volume. Let's put it in. Just put it in here. I'm not going to do it for you. You guys can't find it from above. Alright, pause the video to get that done, or whenever you need to pause, remember. Let's go to task 5. Solve the following density problem. So we've got more of the same. We need to practice this new triangle method. We've got the mass and the volume, and every time here in this first question we're going to find the density. We're going to find the density for this one, and this one. We have 3 different things. We don't even know what they are. We're just going to find the density. Alright, so I'm just highlighting the mass there, the volume there, because it tells me each time the mass, and then it says the volume. So I know what is what. Just gonna write here, I know that's my mass, so that's M, right? V for volume, M for mass, V for volume, M for mass, V for volume. Now what was the equation? Well, we should have written it here. But we could just use the triangle method. Let's go back to my triangle. Here it is. I'm trying to find density. I have mass and volume. Cover the D, mass, tag team, volume. So I'm going to do the first one. You can do the next two. We've done a lot of practice with this already. Density equals mass divide tag seam there, volume. Alright, well, that's gonna be, so we did it in letters, now let's do it in numbers. D equals 24 divided by 6. You put that in your calculator. Don't put D, you're just putting 24 divided by 6. And find your answer. I think you can do that yourself. You don't need me to tell you what 24 divided by 6 is, just put it in your calculator. Use this guy. Put the answer on this line. Now the density is here, we have grams and milliliters, so we must be a liquid or a gas, which means for the density we use G-ml, because we have G and ml, right, and we're dividing the mass by the volume, G-ml, grams per milliliter in this case. Exactly the same method for B and C, so I'll let you do that yourself. Pause the video now and practice that. You can complete these. If you didn't get that, I'll just highlight that we're supposed to do this. Find these numbers. Find the answers. Put the working here and the answer here. Okay, let's look at question 2. It's asking us to find the volume in each of these cylinders. Now this is something we might find in a kitchen or in a science lab. It measures the V, the volume for liquids, very well, a cylinder. Sometimes we call it a measuring cylinder or a graduated cylinder. Alright, it says for E to H, A, B, C, D. Maybe it means for I think it means A, B, C, D, because there is no E to H. So ignore that. It's just let's write for A to D. We're going to find all 4 of these volumes. It says draw in a meniscus for the indicated volume, be precise. Now the meniscus means that it's not, you can see here, I'm going to zoom in. This is actually, I'll show you what this is first. I'll just show you a picture because it's not a very good picture. Just type in measuring cylinder. I'm sure you've seen these in the lab at some point. Something like this, right? Here's my measuring cylinder. I can measure the amount of liquid, the volume of the liquid, right? I just read off the number. It's very simple. So if the liquid is to here, then it will be the V will be 280 ml, milliliters. A nice and simple way to measure in real life the volume of a liquid. Okay, back to the PDF. So here I can see my water is up to, there's 35, there's 40. So it's between the two. 35, 36. And it looks like it's going to 37 at the side. But see this little curve? I'm just going to zoom in even more. There's a curve here. This is called the meniscus. We don't want the meniscus measurement. If we measure the meniscus, the top here where it curves, because it's stuck to the side of the cylinder, the plastic, it's actually too high because the water is not this high, right? We should go to where most of the line is and measure it here. So here we have 35, 36, and we're halfway between 36 and 37. So we're like 36 and a half, right? 36.5 for this one. So you see what I did? I went to my number and then I just go count one at a time. One and a half, because it's not this one. This is not correct. It should be where the line is, not the curve. This curve, we can pretend it's not here. So 36 and a half, 35, 36, 36 and a half. So I've done B for you. You're going to do the same for the other three. Zoom out again. Here's an example there. 36.5. What's the unit? Good question. It doesn't really tell us any units. Maybe it does in the question. No, we cannot put the units. It doesn't tell us. We can probably assume it's milliliters, to be honest, because most measuring cylinders measure in either centimeters cubed or milliliters. I'm going to go for milliliters. So you just put ml after each one because it's a liquid, so it should be ml for the volume. Remember, we're finding V here. And after we found V, maybe we could do a calculation and find something else. So that's why we measure volume, how much liquid we have. Right, that was a little bit shorter because it's basically there's not much new here other than this idea of a meniscus, this curve, and how we can measure volume in real life. So what did I learn? I would say how to measure the volume V in real life for a liquid. Using a measuring cylinder, right? You might have done it in the kitchen before to measure the right amount of ingredients for, I don't know, baking or cooking something. How to measure the volume in real life for a liquid. And we did more practice to calculate, what did we calculate? This time we only focus on density, right? Every time we had the mass and the volume. So when we went to our triangle, we would always just cover the D and we said, well, mass divide max taxine V, M taxine V. Find the density. So all we did was, this time was more practice to calculate density. What was the letter for density? D, if we write it short. And remember, every time we have the units different, depends if it's solid, liquid, or mass. Alright, write something you enjoyed there. That's everything you need, all your information, hopefully. If you're following through the PDF that you do for each day in the CE program, and you've completed this workbook as well, you're going to be really ready for assessment 2, because this is the last assessment before the KT for physics. So once you've watched those 2 videos, completed the workbook, then you're ready for assessment 2, and you're going to just complete the problems. So look at these problems. Actually, they're very similar to the problems we did, or you did, earlier in the workbook, so you can just use the same method. Look, we have D and V, so find M. Okay, so use the triangle method that you practiced with me. So we need to cover M up because that's the one we want to find. Alright, lots of this kind of density calculation. It's most of the marks here. Look, 21 marks just for using that triangle method that we practiced today. Alright, this stuff we've already done, so we should be able to just use the knowledge from the workbook. Good luck, guys, with the assessment. Stay safe, stay healthy, and once you've done assessment 2, you can put it onto the Google Classroom, please, for me to mark. And then we'll get into some revision. So that's going to be our week 6 stuff. So for now, week 5, we're just focusing on getting the workbook complete that I just talked about. All right. Technically, we're near the end of week 5 now, so just to know where you are. Thanks, guys. Ma salama.